Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, it's Adam here. I have a package, and it's something I want to open up and show you guys so that you can use this should you choose to. So before bothering to waste any more of your time, why don't I just go ahead and open this up and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Alright, and inside what we have is a video converter. And I'm a little worried because it looks like a piece of crap. Okay, so basically what this is, let's go ahead and look at the inside. We've got a little unit here and some very poorly, this is terrible packaging, look at that, it's ripped. Power supply and instructions. So, okay, so what this is a video converter that will take RGB signals, or SCART, which I'll talk about in a moment, and upscale it to 720p, not true high definition, mind you, or 1080p, also definitely not true high definition, and allow you to use them through HDMI. So let's go ahead and take a look at that before I explain any more. Now this little converter box, which hopefully is not the incredible piece of crap that it looks like, is supposed to, like I said, upgrade your signals. I am worried though, because it looks pretty awful, and I have a lot of experience in video converters. I've bought a lot of them over the years, and cheap ones are shit. They almost always fail to do the thing they are supposed to do. I've talked about this a bit in the past, and for some reason have been attacked maliciously for it. I have a video on how to use, to go from VGA to HDMI for a Dreamcast, and to upscale it to 1080p. Again, not true high definition, and for some reason people attack me on that. Oh, $100, it's really expensive, fuck you! It's like, okay, I didn't make you buy anything, I'm just telling you cheap converters don't do the job as well. And hopefully this is not a piece of crap, even though it really looks like one. It cost about $50, and it took quite a while to get here, but I did get it on Amazon, which usually takes a long time, but I think this was sold through a third party. But that doesn't matter. So the point is, there are a lot of, this is mostly going to apply to people in North America. I don't know how much, especially Europe. I don't think you guys are really going to need this, but actually maybe you will. A lot of our older consoles, anything really predating the Dreamcast and kind of coming after the Nintendo Entertainment System, not all, but a lot of them have what is called RGB video signal, which is red, green, blue. It's basically their pure video signal, and it looks very good, and it looks very clean. In Europe, they had a format called SCART, and the head of it looks like this. Well, certain parts of Europe. I know the UK definitely. All right, that's what it looks like. It's a very funky format as to North Americans, because we just never see this. No, this was never introduced in North America. But it is an incredibly good-looking video signal. And there's a lot of systems that support it. And if you can use it, your consoles look amazing. But if you can't, like we couldn't, then you were kind of screwed. The best you ever really got was S-Video, which was fine, but SCART is way better. Trust me, I know. For the longest time, I've actually been using a SCART to component adapter. However, this has its limits. This thing, which you can also get on eBay for, I think it's like 40 bucks. Just look up like Sega SCART adapter, you'll find it. This is a good one. I actually quite like this unit, but there's a problem with it. I can't easily capture footage from it, because a lot of older consoles have such low resolutions that you can't capture that footage without something like this to bump it up to a resolution that the computer will like. I hope you're following me on that. This, basically, consoles like the Sega Saturn, the Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, or Super Nintendo, all output at 240p, which is a really low resolution. Now, what this will do is it will take that pure, clean video signal and simply upscale it to a more modern day resolution. It will not clean up the image in of itself. What's doing all the work is actually the console. It actually looks really good on its own. This will just allow you to see it in North America. This will do a straight transfer. But this will at least allow me to upscale to a resolution that I can record with, so I can get really clean footage should I choose to. However, to most people out there who just want to play the thing and they don't care at all about capturing footage, go with something like this. SCART to component. I swear to you, it looks amazing. I've used it in a couple of videos. For whatever reason, I can record the Genesis that way, but the Saturn, the Super Nintendo, I can't do that. But with this, in theory, I will be able to. So let's see. What else can I tell you you may not already know about this? As I said, the consoles all output a very clean, pure video signal, all right? Most consoles prior to the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast does it, and a lot of the consoles after it do it, like the PS2 also does it, but they have no reason, you have no reason to use SCART for those, because they also support something better. For example, the Dreamcast supports VGA, the Xbox supports component, GameCube supports component, although GameCube component cables are quite rare. And you get what I'm saying, everything beyond that point has something better than SCART. Everything prior to the NES and prior does not, although I guess there is some weird French version of the NES that supports SCART, but it's very hard to find. The Sega Master System supports SCART. The Atari Jaguar supports SCART. Interestingly, the Nintendo 64 does not. Nintendo really cheaped out, and I've had a problem with Nintendo for a long time for screwing over a lot of fans with or without their knowledge out of good video quality, because a lot of their consoles lack it. Like hell, you know, the Wii U is their first one to have HDMI. Okay, that's okay, I guess, but the Wii only had 480p, and that was the original one. The Wii Mini, for example, didn't even support that. Didn't support S-Video, didn't support SCART, didn't support anything. GameCube has component support in North America and Japan. For whatever reason, they took it out of the European stuff. You got me, I don't know why. And it's also hard to get those cables. The N64, it doesn't support SCART. It does not support pure RGB. It can be modded to do that, at least North American ones can, but natively they do not. The Super Nintendo does, which is kind of weird. It's the only one that normally does. However, it does not apply to the Junior models. The Super Nintendo Junior is completely incapable of RGB SCART and S-Video unless modified to do so. So, yeah, if you're a Nintendo fan, this probably won't have a whole lot of a purpose to you, unless, of course, you just want to fix this. Now, let's be clear. As I have pointed out here, the consoles all have the ability to have very clean picture. But when you use something like S-Video cables, or composite, which is the one we're all the most familiar with in North America, it's the red, white, and yellow. That's composite. What the console has to do to display with those cables is take that RGB signal and basically, for lack of a better word, it just kind of downgrades it and makes it look worse so that it can output through a video format that is far and away inferior to what it's doing internally. Does that make sense? I hope you're following that line of logic. SCART simply allows you to just tap in directly to what it's supposed to be doing. The same goes with the VGA adapter for the Dreamcast, for example. That's how the Dreamcast is supposed to look. So if anyone tells you, for example, the Dreamcast, oh, I want to play on an old big TV because it's supposed to look like shit, they have no idea what they are talking about. That is not how it's supposed to look. It is also for this reason that a lot of us think older consoles like this are supposed to look good on big old TVs. Also bullshit. You can make it look good on a modern high-definition television. The reason it typically does not is because we're usually using composite. And yes, composite looks terrible on high-definition television. And the reason is, there's two reasons. One, it's because your TV is so good and you've gotten so good used to resolution, like better resolution, that you're finally noticing how bad composite actually looks. But two, composite is an analog format. But things like HDMI are digital formats. Your TV basically takes the analog format and converts it to a digital one, but it does this very poorly. The goal here is to do it well. That's the point of an intermediate adapter like this. This one, again, is the one I have been using, and it does it beautifully. These are analog signals, but they're very clean analog signals. And it takes it and converts it to a digital signal, and it looks really damn good. So I really hope this HDMI one can live up to it. But as I said before, the only reason this matters to me is because I want to be able to capture the footage that looks this good. But if you don't care about capturing it, go with this one. It's cheaper, usually about $10 cheaper. It's usually about 40 bucks. You can get them on eBay, and it'll look great on your HD TV. And you do not need an old, big, fat TV to make the games look good. I swear to you, you don't. You just need something like this. I swear to you. I promise you, it'll look phenomenal. And yes, to anybody who loves emulators, I get it. The emulator will look amazing. It'll look wonderful. You do that. This is about the actual hardware and pushing the hardware to its max. I do not care what the emulator can do. You can play it. That's totally cool. Got no problem with that. But this is about the actual hardware.
Okay, so I've got it all set up there. Please forgive the clutter. We've got a Sega Saturn all set up here. I've decided to pop in Knights. So we'll go ahead and turn that on. We look over there at the screen. I promise we'll go to captured footage in a moment. You can see there it says source SCART RGB and input NTSC, and output is at 720p. Alright, so we've got the Saturn all fired up here. I decided to, well, you can see there the source and the input and all that stuff that I mentioned just a moment ago. The game I selected was Knights. Actually, originally I went with Panzer Dragoon Saga. Yes, I own a copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga, and yes, I consider myself very lucky for that reason. But I went ahead with Knights because as I was recording Panzer Dragoon Saga, I realized it wasn't a very good example of this because there's not a whole lot of color to that game, whereas Knights has a lot of color, and it's a game a lot of people are far more familiar with. So let's talk about that. As you can see, it looks really good. Like, really good. In fact, I have to, basically kind of contradict a lot of the things I actually said in the earlier part of the video when I said that the SCART to component adapter was just as good. I was way wrong. The HDMI adapter is so much better. Like, holy shit. I am astonished by how much better it looks, which generally video converters, especially those cheap Chinese ones, are a huge risk. They're usually really bad. The only company I've ever trusted with those things was a company called Atlona, because they're expensive as hell, but they actually know what they're doing. The thing does what it's supposed to. This one is not by them, but it's also relatively expensive. I mean, $50 is still $50, but better than any of those like $10 piece of shit ones that definitely won't do the job. But yeah, guys, forget what I said about the SCART to component one. Don't even bother. I'm telling you, the SCART to HDMI one is absolutely beautiful. The Saturn has absolutely never looked this good. Yeah, I just, I mean, just look at it yourself. For the Sega Saturn, really, I mean, it looks phenomenal. I mean, this is what it's supposed to look like, which is amazing to me that Sega thought so far ahead on all their consoles. I mean, going all the way back to the Master System, they all support this. They all have this ability. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just play Knights here so you guys can continue to see some footage and really get to know what it's going to look like, or what it could look like if you buy one. I'll eventually show you some other stuff as well. But yeah, I'm going to include a link in the description to the one I bought. Hopefully they don't sell out too quickly. I'm guessing they will, because I'm sure at least one of you is going to buy one. And when I bought it, it wasn't like a new item. It was something that they just had a few of left. So act quickly. But again, I will put a link in the description. You may have to find one on your own, and I really don't know how to help you there, and I'm sorry for that. But yeah, so I know that sucks, the inability to find it. But yeah, I am absolutely astonished by how good this looks on my television. And I promise you, it looks even better on my TV than it does in the recording, because in the recording, it's been captured, it's been converted, it's been put on YouTube, like, it gets hit a few times because of that. But on your actual TV, just straight up, it looks amazing. I'm going to switch over to another game here. This is now the Super Nintendo, so you guys can see, another example. This is a game, of course, Super Mario All-Stars, that people are vastly more familiar with. Now, I'm sure people will ask about the cables themselves, like SCART cables, because I actually, unfortunately, did not mention that. SCART cables are something you're going to have to buy on your own on eBay for each system that you want, especially to us North Americans. because those are not something you just ever find in a store, because again, that format doesn't exist here. So yeah, you have to go on eBay. In Europe, this wouldn't be nearly as big of a deal. But to Europeans, I at first thought, nah, there's probably no real reason you guys would need this. But now that I think about it, that upgrade from analog to digital using something like this is going to make it look so much better on your TVs. At least I would imagine, because I'm genuinely blown away by how good this looks, and I guarantee it would not look this good on even if you went straight SCART into a CRT, it would never look this good. So yeah, I highly recommend you do it. But as for the cables themselves, you will have to get those on your own. The advantage of the HDMI adapter over the component adapter that I showed before, other than just the video quality apparently is much, much better, is also that you don't need special SCART cables. That component adapter I showed you only had video support. It did not have audio support, so you had to buy like custom patched sound cables in order to get sound. But with this, it goes straight from the SCART to HDMI, so all of the contents are there. My point being that the SCART cables you need will be cheaper and easier to find, so be happy about that. Now I'm switching over to the Genesis here. Now, what I'm going to do is just show you the intro of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and as opposed to playing anything. Now, you can see here, of course, that it looks absolutely astounding. But I'm sure that a lot of you are like, well, Adam, you know, how bad really could, you know, S-Video or Composite or any of those actually look? I was going to try and compare it to the component adapter for you guys, but as I said before, it's hard to capture that one, except on the Genesis. But I decided there was no reason to even bother because of how much better this looks. You know, I would just straight up recommend getting the SCART to HDMI adapter. But because of how common Composite is and how we all, you know, a lot of us use that, I wanted to show that to you. So this is the exact same footage you just saw, except it's recorded directly through Composite. Look at it. Look how muddy and disgusting it looks by comparison. I mean, I assume you can tell. It looks just foggy and horrible. And again, this is not any kind of emulation. This is just straight up captured footage. The Genesis is supposed to look like that first thing you saw. Remember, the adapter isn't really doing anything other than just directly converting the signal to a digital format. It doesn't create anything new. Alright guys, sorry about going back to actual footage here, but I wanted to show you one other neat thing I discovered about our friend the SCART to HDMI adapter. Now, just by seeing this, some of you will already know what's going on here, but for those who do not, this is an Amiga Cd32. This is a console that came out in Europe, specifically in the UK. It did very well. It really didn't get launched anywhere else. This never came out in the United States. It did come out in Canada, however, it is extraordinarily rare there. In other words, the NTSC version, the American version, basically doesn't exist, and all you can really get are these European PAL units. But, like pretty much any European PAL unit from the 90s, it doesn't work here because its video frequency is PAL and 50 Hz and just simply does not display on our TVs. Now this unit has been modified to support SCART. My friend Raymond who lives in the UK, who is a phenomenal modder, which I highly recommend you guys contact him if you want anything modded. I've done a few videos with things that he has modded for me, including this. He modded this to support SCART, alright? But I've never been able to use it because my SCART to component adapter simply wouldn't read it. But this will. And what that means is I can actually use this console now, which is amazing. And look at it. I mean, all I can really show you is this menu, unfortunately, because I have no games for it, but it looks absolutely phenomenal. I mean, as far as I can tell, I mean, I assume it would look a lot worse if it was composite. But unfortunately, like I said, I can't show you any games, but what I can do is give you a sense of, I suppose, the audio in this menu. So I decided to pop this in, because why the hell not? And of course, a lot of you immediately already know what this song is from, and if you don't, I'll just ruin it for you. This is from Shenmue, the greatest game ever made. And at this point, Sega, I would take Shenmue 3 on the Amiga Cd32. Make it happen. I know you want to. No, you don't want to do that. That'd be a terrible decision. But yeah, that's it. That's this thing. That's the adapter. Not only can it do all the things I mentioned before, but it also can take PAL signals and make them usable in NTSC territories. And I assume it can do the exact opposite as well, whatever you need it to do. So I highly recommend this thing. You know, that's about all I could say about it, other than the fact that I want to say thank you to Zimming from the Shenmue Dojo for telling me about this. He was curious, and he thought that would probably be a good idea to check out, and he was absolutely right. So thank you to Zimming, and thank you to Raymond for this, and thank you to all of you for watching this video. See you later.